Hi everyone, this is Quad, and actually today I wanted to give you an update on my cold Sorceress build that I actually started with from the ladder beginning and continued until level 93. So I wanted to just highlight why this build is good and what it consists of, what variations you have, and what farming spots are available to you. So let's begin. Okay, so first and foremost, the skill tree. It is pretty simple, although can be a little bit different from your regular, let's say, Blizzard or Frozen Orb sorc. So we have as usually 1 point into Warmth, just to improve our mana regen. In the Lightning I have 1 point into Telekinesis and 1 point into Teleport. I put around 9 points into Static Field. That was mainly in the beginning, because when you don't have a lot of plus skills, the radius is really small, but by now I would say maybe maximum 5 points is already enough to cover the entire screen, and this is more than you will ever need. And then finally, cold skills. So here, of course, we take 1 Frozen Armor, we take all the prerequisites for Frozen Orb, and in my case I put 16 points into Cold Mastery, because all my cold skills are not fully synergized except the Frost Nova, so they don't deal extreme amount of damage. This way I can actually make sure that all the enemies with whatsoever cold resistance will be down to minus 100, which really helps to deal decent damage. Alright, so the skills themselves that we will use interchangeably. 20 points into Frost Nova. It tops at 720 damage, which can be increased of course. Then we have 20 points into Blizzard, that's again around 2k damage, and 20 points into Frozen Orb with around 500 damage. I also started to put points into Ice Bolt in the end, because it synergizes both the Blizzard and Frozen Orb, so that helps to amplify damage of 2 skills, which I think is way better than just, let's say, pumping Blizzard. I also want to highlight that this is the damage in my most MF setup, so I don't really have that many plus skills gear, which you will see later on. Alright, so why do we actually have 3 different skills, Frost Nova, Blizzard and Frozen Orb? Early on, Frost Nova will not have enough damage to actually be standalone skill, while Blizzard and Frozen Orb will be already good enough to actually cast them interchangeably thanks to the separate cooldowns or casting delays. You'll be able to actually first drop a Blizzard, then cast Frozen Orb, then probably another Frozen Orb, then again Blizzard. So this actually really helps to farm early on in all the areas that you can go. Why not pumping only Blizzard? Well, in my opinion, Blizzard damage is quite high, and it's usually enough on players 1 to not fully synergize it. But why do we take it here is because you can still farm bosses like Mephisto or Andariel with this setup, so you are not reducing these 2 farming spots from your early ladder, where you can get all the needed gear for the beginning. Frozen Orb is really good at the beginning because it goes through the enemies, so it will definitely hit everyone, unlike Blizzard that can miss on the fast packs or, let's say, slightly bigger packs. So Frozen Orb is really helpful just to make sure that you hit enemies with decent damage, and to be honest, on players 1 in most places, like not talking about Chaos Sanctuary of course, this will be enough. And then Frost Nova at the later skill levels with decent Cold Mastery actually gets enough damage to simply cast it in the group of monsters and kill everything in like 3 seconds or something like that, because with 105 FCR you will cast them so much and so quick, and everybody around with you will actually die really quickly. So this is one of the biggest convenience of the Frost Nova, that you don't need to target, you don't need to aim, it targets everything around you, and basically huge amount of enemies take damage. Stat points I think is usually pretty simple. You put enough strength to equip your Monarch, shield, and pretty much everything else in Vitality. I think I put few points into energy because again Frost Nova is quite hungry for mana, and if you don't have CTA then this will be definitely very helpful. Okay, now let's look into the gear. So this is pretty much 105 FCR, as much Magic Find as possible setup. So I have the Trangul's Claws for 20 FCR called Res. I have the Heart of the Oak. You can also exchange it for the Spirit Sword. That's what I was using in the beginning. then Shaco with perfect topaz in it, Wealth rune word, simply because I never found the Scalders. Of course, Scalders is a little bit better, but I have to admit with that with the Wealth rune word, with this 300 extra gold, I actually was carrying piles and piles of gold, so like 3 to 4,000 gold piles from just normal monsters. From champion packs it was like 12 or 15,000, really good addition if you want to gamble more. Then we have the Taurash's mesh belt. You can also use gold wrap, or if you have arachnid mesh, I would recommend your arachnid mesh. I was lucky to find the Bulkathas wedding band, so that was pretty useful. I could also exchange it for a Najo ring for an extra MF, but I find this ring quite nice for the survivability and additional skill. One FCR ring with resistances, that's again to improve the resistances and get a 105 FCR breakpoint. Plain 43 MF amulet, Spirit Monarch, 35 FCR here is really crucial to get the breakpoint. And really good rare boots with 30 faster on walk, dual, really high res on lightning and fire, and MF. On a swap, whatever monarch, 33 happened to help me reach 63 FCR breakpoint, and then call to arms, the famous one battle orders roll. Inventory is pretty simple. We have one Git's Fortune, the Annihilus that seems to be super cheap right now, and all the different charms that cover your resistances, add MF or life or whatever else you are missing. Very simple mercenary setup, treachery, Andariel's visage or any other helmet that helps him survive and gives life leech, and insight in the allied polearm. I still haven't found an F polearm, but this will do just fine. This is Holy Freeze Merc, because it really helps your survivability, especially if you jump into the groups of monsters, and a lot of monsters are extra fast, so for you it's really helpful, and for Mercenary as well. As for the variations of this build, why I actually like it so much, because you can pump up your damage by using Nightwing's Veil, using Mara's Kaleidoscope, and for example K-Hagen's. Or if you have Scalders, use Scalders or Viper Magi, or maybe even like Chains of Honors or whatnot. And then also to boost your survivability, you can put Verdangos, that will add a lot of damage reduction together with Vitality, and that will be very helpful. So in this way, you actually have already +3 more skills from your gear, and you can see the damage goes almost up to 1000 here, 2500 Blizzard, and 600 Frozen Orb. Alright, now let's have a look at the farming spots. As I already mentioned, you are pretty good to go with farming bosses on this build. So, and here is for example Andariel. You can drop on her one Blizzard and then cast more Cold Novas. Same goes with Mephisto. Again, you drop one Blizzard on top of him. Here I would suggest to use the Frozen Orb, of course, and we get the IK Maul. Always pop the chest behind him, maybe you find one day something good. Alright, pretty much the same story is in the Stony Tombs, although here I would suggest just use the Frost Nova, that is really useful here, and super easy, you don't need to target, just jump in the middle of the crowd and that's it. All of them are dead. Same here. You have usually enough survivability, or don't forget to drink potions. It shouldn't really stop you from being a little bit aggressive, because normally nothing will do you much damage here. The only challenge here will be the creeping feature, because he's cold immune, but your mercenary should be good enough already to actually deal with him. And yeah, as usually, you can see the gold piles thanks to the Wealth rune word, so super easy. Yep, no problem at all. The same story happens in the Ancient Tunnels, of course, that's already has been known as the best place for cold sorceress to farm, or like Holy Grail. So yeah, you just scout around for the boss packs, drop a Blizzard on top of them, and then start casting Frost Nova. Super easy. And then another place that you might not want to go, but definitely don't miss out, is of course, the maggot layer. It's really good for this cold sorc because of the Frost Nova. You don't need to aim, it's quite easy. You just keep pushing the Frost Nova, so it's really easy in this case to hit everybody, even in those tunnels. So always turn left here, so you hit as many places as possible before you actually move on to another level. Okay, to continue on the Act 2, this is the Arcane Sanctuary. Higher chances for all kinds of runes. Definitely give it a go. Again, ghosts are pretty easy to die here, so you can stab at the packs, give a couple of static fields and then continue on. For example, here, everything should melt pretty quick. Yep. You already deal enough damage, and then of course you can always hit the summoner with a chance of getting those keys. And then lastly, one of the easier places as well, the one that I farmed for 500 times in the beginning, is the Arachnid layer. Again, give a couple of static fields, drop the blizzard on top, teleport in, and pretty much, yeah, start casting the Frost Nova. In this case, everything dies pretty quick. And again, Frost Nova gives an advantage here because sometimes it's hard to aim with the Frozen Orb or with Blizzard. Also, some of the spiders can be extra fast, so it's really hard to hit them with a Blizzard, but Frost Nova is not having those disadvantages at all. But if you farm here, make sure to get some antidote potions or 75 poison res, because it could be really toxic here. Alright, those were pretty much the easiest places you can farm, but of course you still have other options like City of the Damned. And I think one of the main advantages of this build is that you actually, as a cold sorc, early on have way more possibilities to farm different places, comparing to, let's say, just Lightning Nova sorc or Fire sorc. Those are a little bit limited in my opinion in the places they can go to. But the cold one actually has really big advantage with bosses and with about 5 to 6 areas that can be farmed from the beginning early on. Alright, yeah, that was pretty much the guide, so if you want to see how this sorc is in action, check out either those 500 Arachnid layer runs or 500 Stony Tomb runs. Both were pretty interesting and really gave some nice results. Thank you for watching and see you next time.